Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about how to write an exceptional personal statement so that you get through the residency match. If you do not know me already, I am Gazala. I am currently a third-year neurology resident, and over the last 3 years, I have helped multiple applicants get through their personal statement. I have reviewed multiple personal statements, and through my feedback, they have got successful residency matches. So here in this video, I'm going to break it down for you and give you all the secret recipe to get through an exceptional personal statement that stands out among the programs. So let's get started. Before we get started, here is what I want you to know about a personal statement. What are you trying to do with a personal statement is to showcase your journey and by that show your suitability for the residency position or the specialty you are applying for. For simplicity and to make it easy to understand, we are going to divide this into 3 parts. The first part would be the introduction, the second part would be the main body of the personal statement, and the third part would be the conclusion. I will go through everything, so don't worry about it. Remember one thing, that with this personal statement, what you are trying to do is tell your story. So it should sound like a story, meaning everything should transition very smoothly from one thing to the other. And at the end, all of it should come together and sound like a story that you concluded really well. So with that, let's get started with the introduction. The introduction is basically the first impression. So you want to start with a nice hook. Why do I use the word hook? Is because I want you to grab attention of the reader through this hook. The opening statement should be something which is probably an anecdote or a compelling story or a memory or a quotation which is really intriguing and creates some curiosity. Now, this does not need to be a quote from Mahatma Gandhi or some world leader. This could be a general quotations through your life experiences and add a little bit of spice and drama to it and you're all good. So let me give you a few examples of that. Example number 1, and this is how it exactly starts. Quotations: "My grandmother makes me sleep on the floor," said the 13-year-old girl who I met at the menstrual hygiene camp where I was volunteering. Example number 2. "It was my 14th hour in the OR today when I saw my attending diligently trying to help this patient with a complicated case of medulloblastoma." Now, if you look back at these 2 examples, just this statement starting on a personal statement without any context, anyone would be interested to know more what is behind that story. What is behind that girl who is sleeping on the floor? What is her story? Or how am I connected to her? In the second example, this is the 14th hour in the OR and there is a medulloblastoma case. It sounds simple, but why is it that you are there for 14 hours? What is the story behind it? What we are basically trying to do is through these examples, we want them to be interested in reading more. So now that we are done with the opening statement, the next thing is that how do you relate this opening statement to complete the first paragraph of your personal statement, which is the introduction. Now, once you have set up the expectations through the opening statement, now you have to keep up to that expectation throughout the first paragraph or your introduction, meaning that from this opening statement, you will now transition into this whole story very briefly, but still keep up to the expectation that after reading the first statement, they should not be disappointed that the story had nothing to do with that or was not as exciting as the opening statement sounded like. Eventually, what is the goal of the story? What you are trying to do with this first paragraph? Firstly, you're trying to have some intrigue or curiosity. Second, you're trying to set the tone about your interest or what you value the most in the first paragraph or the introduction. That is the goal. You do not need to specifically talk about I am interested in this specialty or because of this instance I got interested into this specialty. These are given things. You are a good storyteller and you do not have to say things directly. Indirectly, through these experiences and stories, we are going to convey everything throughout. So trust the process. So here is the summary of the introduction. First, a dramatic opening statement. Second, keeping up to the expectation and transitioning to a beautiful story related to that. Third, setting up a tone or a theme about what you are interested in or what you are passionate about without directly saying that this is the specialty I'm interested in. Now let's move on to the second part and the majority of the content that comes from the body. of the personal statement. This will be roughly 2 paragraphs long and will majorly highlight your experiences and your achievements. Now remember, we are still doing the storytelling bit, so still it should sound very smooth and like a story and transition from the introduction to these 2 paragraphs very smoothly. Now here is tip number 1 for you, and I want you to make a note of it right away. Make a separate document and scribble down all the experiences that you have had. These could be personal life experiences, these could be experiences related to work, research, anything that is memorable to you and that you think is substantial in your journey. Just scribble it down roughly. Don't worry about the grammar, don't worry about the content, don't worry about if it is appropriate or not. Scribble it down in a separate document, and trust me, I'm going to tell you how to make the best out of it, and this will be a game changer for you. So the first step of writing the body is to actually scribble down all these experiences, so you are done with the first part. Now the second part is, once you have a list of all these experiences and you have described it as much as you can, go back and read these experiences and think about what are the strengths or the passion or the qualities of yourself that are coming out or highlighting out of these experiences. Now the third step is, once you have identified those strengths or those qualities, I want you to give each of these stories a heading, and the heading would actually be the strength that you just identified. If this sounds confusing to you, I'm going to make it easy with an example for you. So here is one example. Let's say one of these experiences is about you volunteering into a healthcare campaign which was designed specifically for women who have been victim of domestic violence. In this volunteering experience, let's assume your role was to advocate for healthcare for these women, to educate them about their safety, and to maybe inform them about their rights and make them aware about their mental and physical well-being. So what are the qualities or the strengths that would come out? Two of them, which would be very clearly applicable, would be patient advocacy and second, passion for women's health. And these would be the two headings, which is basically patient advocacy and women's health, that you are going to put up on the experience or the story that you had in that document. And similarly, you are going to apply this to all the experiences that you have had. And this sums up step number 3 for us. Now let's go to step number 4. Coming to step number 4, which is, once you have assigned all the headings to your stories, which are the strengths which have been assigned to all the stories, I want you to pick up 3 of these strengths or qualities or passions, and then based on these 3 strengths, pick up the stories that appeal to you. Now there might be multiple stories that may overlap to the same strength, and then you can decide which of these are the most appealing to you or which of these are the most impactful in your experience, and that is the one that you can use. You can even use more than one, but that's how you're going to narrow it down. And this brings me to tip number 2. The keyword here is only 3 strengths or only 3 qualities. Do not overcomplicate it. Do not try to put in all your strengths and qualities into the personal statement. Keep it simple so that you make it impactful and the impression is very clear to the person who is reading. So pick up 3 strengths or 3 qualities and make sure that you are using all the stories or anecdotes which are related to that. That will leave a lasting impression on someone's mind. You might have heard this from a lot of people, that your personal statement should not be a copy of your CV, meaning that you should not just take experiences from your CV and put it in your personal statement. That does not really put a lasting impression on anyone. That is partly true, that you should not completely copy forward your CV or put all the experiences from your CV, but feel free to write any experiences that are substantial in your journey, which can be in your CV as well. Let's say there was a research experience that was very substantial in your journey and you learned a lot from it, or your role was very impactful in that. Or let's say there was a volunteering experience that really impacted you and that was actually the reason that shaped your decision into going into a specialty. It's okay to write about these experiences, but make sure that you are adding layers to these experiences. You are adding a story behind it and not barely just taking that experience and writing into that. And let me give you an example about that. You do not just go ahead and write my experience from volunteering into this healthcare camp, or my experience from this neurology rotation that I did and saw these many cases of stroke that left a lasting impression on me, and that is why I wanted to do neurology. That is very basic. That is literally a copy forward from your CV and just adding one more line that it left a lasting impression on you. But you have not added any layer or details about what happened during this rotation, what did you see during this rotation, why did it leave a lasting impression on you, was there any interesting case, was there any patient encounter, what was it behind this story or behind this experience that made it so impactful for you. So you need to add those layers. If you do not add those layers, that means you're actually copying forward your CV, and that is a no-no. But besides that, there could be a lot of things that are on your CV, but you still want to describe more about it, or you still want to share more about it, and go ahead and do that. There is no hard rule about not doing that, or there is no restriction on that. This brings me to tip number 3, which is setbacks. I am a strong proponent that you should acknowledge your setbacks. Nobody is perfect, and they are not expecting perfect human beings in residency. So if you have any setbacks, it is good to acknowledge them and then give them strong reasons and evidences about how you overcome or overcame those experiences or those failures or setbacks, and how you came out stronger through those experiences. What were your takeaways? Let me give you an example, as if you had an attempt in USMLE step 1. So then give them evidences about how you worked hard, how you scored higher in step 2 CK, or how you took less amount of time to prepare back again, or how you probably got an honors in your medical school. So give them strong evidences that will prove that you are not just talking, you have done enough work and you have done enough things to actually build that weakness into your strength, and that will play in your favor, because at the end of the day, you will not be able to hide from anyone that you did not have an attempt. That is in your CV and that is clearly visible. So it is better to give them strong reasons to support that even after that setback in your life, which can happen to anyone, you are here very strong and ready for that residency position. So that brings me to the end of the body of the personal statement. Here are the 4 takeaways. Continue the storytelling tone, but that does not mean that you have to go in a chronological order of your life. Second, how to pull stories from your personal experiences and highlight your strengths. Third, maintaining a theme with 3 of your strengths throughout the personal statement and acknowledging setbacks and pulling out strengths from your setbacks. Let's move on to the last part, which is the conclusion, or in other words, future goals and program fit. So finally, your conclusion should tie everything together and explain why you are a great fit for the program. So it is time to sell yourself, and let's sell it like hot pancakes that everyone wants to buy. There are these main things that I want you to focus on when you are writing your conclusion. First, your strengths. Second, your future goals. And third, how you are fit for that program. So remember, since the beginning, we were holding on to these 3 strengths and maintaining a theme around these 3 strengths. So now it is time to be more vocal about these 3 strengths. So use these 3 strengths to clearly state your career goals and how the residency program will help you to achieve it. Here is an example for you. You can write, I am passionate about patient advocacy and aspire to make an impact on the perception of the healthcare system among the communities. Through the outreach opportunities provided at your program and the diverse patient population, I will move closer to my goal and can better serve my patients in the future. This brings me to the final tip, which is, again, do not overkill. You do not need to align with all the goals of the program. You do not need to have all the strengths that the program is looking for in residence, and you do not need to have an ambitious fellowship goal. Just be who you are, and trust me, that will work. That will do all the magic for you. So we have talked about your strengths, your future goals, and your program fit into the conclusion, and that's how you're going to wrap it up. Lastly, how do you end it? So just like we had a first impression, we want to have the last impression, and that is also very important. So guess what? I just told you we are now going to bring the whole story together in the conclusions, and here is how we are going to do it. The closing statement, meaning the last statement, will go back and link to the opening statement. If you're confused how to do it, let me tell you how. Let's go back to our opening statement and pick up the same example that we used in the beginning. So my grandmother makes me sleep on the floor, said the 13-year-old girl who I met at a menstrual hygiene camp. The concluding line stemming from the first example would be, I am eager to bring my dedication and skills to your program so that I move further in the direction of becoming a compassionate physician so that no other 13-year-old girl needs to sleep on the floor. That's it. And this is how you told your whole story, starting with a very spicy, dramatic opening statement, talking more about yourself, your experiences, your achievements in a very smooth storytelling way, but yet highlighting your strengths without directly saying them out loud. And then finally coming up to the conclusion where you start becoming more vocal and highlight your strengths more vocally in terms of adjectives and words. And then eventually you close it with this closing statement that is then going to correlate with your opening statement and make a compelling, well-nourished story that anyone would like. That is it. That is all that you need, all the steps for making a compelling personal statement that is definitely going to stand out for your residency match. And I promise you that if you follow all these steps, you are going to write an exceptional personal statement and people are going to talk to you about it in the interviews. So if this is something you like, do not not forget to subscribe and hit the like button under this video. I'll create more such content for you, especially directed towards the match, since the match season is coming soon. If you have any further recommendations of what you want to see, please leave them in the comment below and I will make sure that I create a video on that. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.